How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz. In today's video, we're going to be going over the best Pokemon to hunt during the Go Wild Area event this upcoming weekend. Now, if you're still not sure if the event ticket is actually worth it, I'd recommend checking out this video right here on screen, or this one right here for the Go Pass Deluxe, which actually contains the silver bottle cap. Both video links can also be found in the description down below. Now, there is going to be a lot of potential for PvP Pokemon during this event, so if you don't actually have that many built for the three main league formats, Great League, Ultra League, and Master League, you should definitely use this opportunity to grab some. One of the easiest ways to do that is going to be by using this search string on screen. You can check the rankings of your IV spreads on PvPoke using their battle simulator, and I'd encourage you guys to do this after day 1 and transfer anything that isn't good. This way you'll have more storage space available for day 2. So we're going to have two different habitats featured during this event. We're going to have the Lurking Dark Hour and the Fanciful Fairy Hour. They're going to rotate every other hour, and ideally you do want to alternate between your Mega Evolutions as well to maximize the candy and extra large candy bonuses you're going to be getting. We'll talk about that later on in the video though. So from the Lurking Dark Hour, we're going to get Alolan Meowth, Alolan Grimer, Ghastly, Hoot Hoot, Murkrow, Sneasel, Houndour, Poochyena, Galarian Zigzagoon, Seedot, Nincada, Cacnea, Kricketot, Stunky, Skorupi, Scraggy, Zorua, Foongus, Dino, Inkay, Phantom, Impidimp, and finally Dreepy. And then from the Fanciful Fairy Hour, we're going to get Clefairy, Alolan Vulpix, Jigglypuff, Galarian Ponyta, Chansey, Togetic, Marill, Snubbull, Ralts, Skitty, Swablu, Feebas, Cherubi, Audino, Cottonee, Esper, Dedenne, Klefki, Poplio, Cutiefly, Hatena, Impidimp, and Smoliv. The only Pokemon that can't be shiny from this pool of Pokemon is going to be Klefki. So that was a lot of Pokemon right there, but they're not all that good. So let's go over the most meta-relevant ones you guys actually want to pay attention to, starting off with the Lurking Dark Hour. So first of all, we're going to have Alolan Meowth, which is going to be Stardust boosted, giving 750 Stardust per catch, and it's also going to be a perma-boosted shiny Pokemon at 1 out of 64. But regardless if you actually have the event ticket or not, these perma-boosted shiny Pokemon are going to be at 1 out of 64. So you can still get some good shiny Pokemon during this event, even if you don't actually have access to the ticket. But the shiny rate for most of the other Pokemon being 1 out of 512, going all the way down to 1 out of 128 is a pretty significant increase. So for every other Pokemon that isn't perma-boosted, they're going to have that shiny rate if you guys do actually have the event ticket. Next up, we are going to have Alolan Grimer though, which is going to be another perma-boosted shiny at 1 out of 64. Following that, we're going to have Ghastly, which evolves into Gengar, which is going to be good to pick up candy for the Mega Evolution as well as for the G-Max when we eventually get that back in. You're going to need a decent amount of candy, and I believe at least like 50 to 70 extra large candy to upgrade the max move all the way to level 3 for the attack. The next Pokemon is going to be Sneasel, which is going to be another perma-boosted shiny at 1 out of 64. We're also going to have Galarian Zigzagoon and Nincada, which are also going to be perma-boosted shinies at 1 out of 64. So there's a lot of good shiny Pokemon from this Dark Habitat Hour, which I think is going to be great for anybody who just doesn't even have the event ticket. Following that, we're going to have Skorupi, which evolves into Drapion. That's going to have relevance in the Ultra League, ranking in the top 50. We're going to have Scraggy, which evolves into Scrafty, which is going to be an Ultra League relevant Pokemon. It's not as good as it once was, but it's still definitely worth building, in my opinion, for the Open Ultra League. You can also use this against the team leaders if you guys don't have that many Pokemon built, so I'd strongly recommend that one. Scrafty is also going to get a future Mega Evolution, but you don't actually need to have the Hundo. If you just build the version for the Open Ultra League, you can use that as your Mega Evolution. Next up, we're going to have Foongus, which is also going to award boosted Stardust at 500 per catch. We're going to have Dino, which evolves into Hydreigon. That's going to be good to pick up candy for the Shadow form, although you do want to have the Legacy moveset Brutal Swing. During this event, you can TM Frustration away on your Shadow Pokemon though, so if you do actually have a Shadow Dino in your storage, make sure to do that. That way, the next time that we are able to evolve Dino into Hydreigon to get the Legacy moveset Brutal Swing, you can do that. Next up, we're going to have Inkay, which evolves into Malamar. This is going to be very good to build for the Open Ultra League, ranking in the top 30. This will also benefit from a future Mega Evolution as well. Next up, we're going to have Phantom, which is going to be a free trade evolution, which means if you mirror trade this with somebody else, it's going to be 0 candy to evolve. Super good to build up for some massive evolution sprees, or the next time you actually drop a lucky egg for some friendship experience. Phantom, when evolved into Trevenant, is also going to be relevant in the Open Ultra League, ranking at the top 70. We're also going to have Shiny Impidimp featured, which is going to be the new shiny during this event, and we're going to have Dreepy, which evolves into Dragapult, which is going to eventually get a future Community Day, so if you happen to get a good IV spread, hold on to it for that eventual event. Next up, let's go over the Fanciful Fairy Habitat Hour. So first up, we're going to have Clefairy, which evolves into Clefable. This is going to be relevant in the Open Ultra League, ranking in the top 40, and it's also going to get a future Mega Evolution, which is most likely going to be quite relevant. Next up, we're going to have Alolan Vulpix, which evolves into Alolan Ninetales. This is going to be relevant in the Open Ultra League, ranking in the top 90. We're going to have Jigglypuff, which evolves into Wigglytuff. This is going to be very good to use in the Open Great League, ranking in the top 30. We're going to have Chansey, which is great to use as a gym defender, and then we're also going to have Blissey, and that's going to be a good gym defender, but you should also make sure to build up a bunch of candy for the Dynamax Blissey, which is the best tank in the entire game when it comes down to max battles, pretty much right next to Zamazenta. It's also the best healer. Whether or not you're going to use Chansey for gyms or for max battles, you do want to build up a nice stockpile of candy on this Pokemon, so make sure that you are using Pineapple Berries for it. Next up, we're going to have Togetic, which evolves into Togekiss. This Pokemon's going to be super good to use in the Open Ultra League, ranking in the top 10, and also very good to use in the Open Master League, ranking in the top 20. It's also going to be a solid Fairy-type attacker to use in raid battles, so if you happen to get the Hundo during this event, I mean, that's going to be a great Pokemon to add to your collection. Next up, we're going to have Meryl, which evolves into a Azumarill. This is going to rank in the top 5 for the Open Great League, so it's an amazing Pokemon to pick up during this event. Not to mention, Azumarill has been one of the more solid picks to build for the Open Great League for years, so I mean, if you haven't built one already, you definitely want to take advantage of it during this event, if not to just farm as much extra large candy as possible, because Azumarill is one of the super extra large Pokemon builds, meaning that you're going to have to take it to level 50 or very, very close. But trust me when I say this, that is one of the best investments you can make for the Open Great League when it comes down to PvP. Next up, we're going to have Ralts, which evolves into Gardevoir. We are also going to have Gardevoir available in the Mighty Pokemon spawn pool, so we'll talk more about that Pokemon later. Essentially though, just make sure to be catching all of these Ralts for the candy for the Mega Evolution, and you should be good to go. Ralts also will evolve into Gallade if it is going to be a male version. That's going to be from Kirlia to Gallade with a Sinnoh Stone. This does have some relevance in the Open Ultra League, although it's not as good as it once was, and it also gets access to a Mega Evolution, which is going to be relevant as a fighting or a psychic type attacker. Following that, we're going to have Swablu, which evolves into Altaria. This is going to be relevant in the top 10 for the Open Great League, so another amazing Pokemon to pick up, although Swablu is going to cost 400 candy to evolve into Altaria, so make sure that you are Pineapple Berrying these during this event if you don't have that much candy for it. Audino is going to be the next Pokemon to pay attention to, being another Stardust boosted Pokemon and the best in the game, awarding 2100 Stardust per catch, which is insane, even more with the Weather Boost and even more with the Star Piece. I'm not really sure how common Audino is going to be in the wild, but this Pokemon does have a very low catch rate, so if you guys do have some Golden Raspberries saved up, I would definitely make sure to use them on Audino. Whether or not you have a Star Piece active, it's going to be some great Stardust to farm. Next up, we're going to have Klefki, which is normally going to be a regional from France, so if you guys do happen to encounter this one, make sure to catch it and save it for mirror trade so you can actually try and get the Hundo. Still need to get that one. I believe I have a 98% IV, but don't have the Hundo yet. Poplio is going to be the next Pokemon, which evolves into Primarina. This is going to be relevant in the Open Master League in the top 40, and it's also going to be a decent water type attacker to use, so it's actually not that bad to pick up. That being said though, you will want to have the Legacy moveset Hydro Cannon, so if you do happen to get the Hundo or like a really good IV spread, I would hold on to that and evolve it at a later point in time. Finally, the most important Pokemon to pay attention to is going to be the other new shiny Pokemon during this event. That is going to be Hatenna, which evolves into Hatterene, and this is going to be important to pick up candy for the future G-Max form, but otherwise it's not super good to use. Like, it's actually like a decent budget fairy type attacker, but Hatterene is also going to be featured on day 1 from the Mighty Pokemon spawn pool, so we'll spend some more time talking about that in just a second. And then finally, Impidimp is going to be featured during this habitat as well, which means you'll have the entire event on both days to actually hunt down this shiny. It's going to be spawning during both habitats, which is actually kind of cool. So that pretty much covers all of the habitat spawns. There's definitely a lot to pay attention to. A few Stardust boosted Pokemon, some perma boosted shinies during the dark hour for the most part, and a lot of other Pokemon that could be good for PvP, and a few that are actually going to be good for raid battles. But the majority of Pokemon that you actually want to pay attention to build up your raid teams are going to be the Mighty Pokemon featured on both Saturday as well as Sunday, and then also from the incense spawns. So let's talk about those right now. So first of all, let me explain Mighty Pokemon. These can be caught between level 35 to level 40 without the weather boost, and between level 40 to level 45 with the weather boost. Mighty Pokemon also have an IV floor of 13, 13, 13, which means you have a 1 out of 27 chance of actually getting the Hundo. The only downside is that these Pokemon have an incredibly low catch rate, but that's kind of where the Ghost Safari Balls come in. That's going to give you a much better chance to actually catch these Pokemon combined together with the Golden Raspberry. And if you're lucky enough to encounter a shiny Mighty Pokemon, that's not supposed to be able to run away. So first of all, on Saturday, we're going to get access to Wigglytuff, Galarian Rapidash, Tyranitar, Mawile, Absol, Golurk, Hatterene, Obstagoon, and Meowscarada. And then on Sunday, we're going to get access to Alolan Ninetales, Galarian Weezing, Granbull, Houndoom, Gardevoir, Honchkrow, Garchomp, Drapion, and Weavile. And then from the incense encounters for all Pokemon players, regardless if you actually have the ticket, we're going to get Alolan Ninetales, Galarian Rapidash, Tyranitar, Mawile, Absol, Garchomp, Drapion, Weavile, Hatterene, and Meowscarada on both days. So basically for everybody who isn't going to be buying the event ticket, you will have access to all of the Mighty Pokemon on both days. The only difference, I think, between the paid version, if you actually bought the ticket, and the free version, is that the paid ticket holders are probably going to get more Ghost Safari Balls to actually use on the Mighty Pokemon. Whereas for the people who are going to be playing this event event without the event ticket, you can get Go Safari Balls by spending Pokestops, but the drop rate from last year was actually pretty low, so I wouldn't go in expecting to get a lot of them. With that being said though, let's take a look at the best Pokemon you want to pay attention to from the Mighty Pokemon spawn pool on both Saturday as well as Sunday, and once again, the incense spawns are going to be appearing on both days, so whichever Pokemon I mention here, just apply that to the incense pool as well. So first up, we're going to have Tyranitar, which is arguably one of the best Pokemon you guys can pick up during this event. It's going to be good as a Mega Evolution, both as a Dark type attacker as well as a Rock type attacker. Now for the Rock type attacker, you do want to have the Legacy Fast Move Smackdown, so if you do happen to get a really good IV spread and you want to actually use it as your Mega Evolution, just use the Elite TM later. Otherwise, you just want to focus on catching as many of these as possible so you can build a stacked team of Dark type attackers without spending any Stardust. Remember, all these Pokemon are going to be at level 35 minimum. If they're weather boosted, that's going to be level 40 minimum, which is already more than battle ready, so you're going to be good to go without having to spend any Stardust. All you have to do is just change the movesets. And for Tyranitar as a Dark type attacker, you want to go with Bite plus Brutal Swing. Now on top of that, we're also going to get Absol with the special moveset Brutal Swing. Now this is going to be the second best Mega Dark type attacker in the game, but if you already have Mega Tyranitar, you're probably not going to need this as much. Still, I think it's worth paying attention to and definitely trying to grab a hundo during this event, because you can always use it as an alternative to Tyranitar. And considering that it already comes with the Legacy moveset, that's pretty convenient. Now unfortunately, unlike Tyranitar where you can build a stacked team of Dark type attackers without having to spend any Stardust, regular Absol doesn't really function the same. It's only the Mega Evolution that's actually relevant. Next up, we're going to have Hatterene, which is going to be a great budget Fairy type attacker to build, so pretty much the same concept here that I talked about with Tyranitar. Catch as many of these as possible, make sure to TM their movesets to a double Fairy type moveset, and now you basically have a battle ready team of Fairy type attackers just ready to go. And you'll also have access to Gardevoir on day 2, but we'll talk about that in just a second here. On day 1, focus on catching as many Hatterene as possible, and then you can pretty much, build up a combination of both Hatterene as well as Gardevoir for your Fairy types moving forward. And then finally, we're going to have Meowscarada, which is going to be great to catch a bunch of just to build up a solid team of Grass type attackers, once again without having to spend any Stardust. Now let's talk about the featured Pokemon on Sunday. So first up, we're going to have Houndoom, which is going to be a Mega Evolution Pokemon. This is going to be the third best Dark type attacker in the game, but it falls behind Mega Tyranitar and Mega Absol in terms of meta relevance. I would just try to get the hundo, and that's pretty much about it. Now I did mention Gardevoir earlier, which is going to be featured during day 2. This is going to be a great Pokemon to pick up, not only to build a stacked team of Fairy type attackers without having to spend any Stardust, but also it's going to have the Mega Evolution, which makes it the best Fairy type attacker in the game with Charm plus Dazzling Gleam. So Gardevoir should be one of your top hunts for sure on day 2. Also for the chance of that Shundo. Man, I would love to get that. Next up, we're going to have Honchkrow, which is going to be great to build as a budget Flying type attacker. So once again, a stacked team of Flying types just picking up the Honchkrow during this event. And then we're going to have one of the best Pokemon to pay attention to, Garchomp, which is not only going to function as an amazing budget ground type attacker with Earth Power that is going to be included during this event as a Legacy moveset, but also as a Dragon type attacker with Dragon Tail plus Outrage. The name of the game for any new/returning players is going to be to pick up as many Garchomp as possible and build a stacked team of Dragon type attackers as well as ground type attackers. Also, if you do happen to get the hundo, this Pokemon does rank in the top 50 for the Open Master League, and when it comes down to its Mega Evolution, it is the second best as a ground type, but the number 1 is going to be Primal Groudon. So don't worry too much about the Mega Evolution, mainly just focus on building a stacked team of Dragon and ground type attackers without having to spend any Stardust. Dude, this event is so freaking good. I love it. And then finally, we're going to have Weavile, which is going to be a good Pokemon to pick up for your budget Ice type team. Once again, stacked team of Ice type attackers and you should be good to go. Weavile does also function as a good Dark type attacker, but since you're going to get access to Tyranitar during this event on day 1, you won't really have to worry about using this for that. So if it wasn't clear already, from this event over both days, you're going to be able to build a stacked team of Dark types, Fairy types, Grass types, Flying types, Dragon types, Ground types, and Ice types. Next up, let's talk about the best raids to focus on from this weekend. So we do have the 3-star Beware raids, which are going to be the costume Pokemon featured during this event. There's no raid relevance, but I think for any costume hunters out there, this is going to be something you do want to pay attention to. In terms of the Shadow raids, we're going to have Shadow Cresselia on Saturday and then Shadow Darkrai on Sunday. Shadow Cresselia is going to rank in the top 50 for the Open Ultra League, so that Pokemon is worth paying attention to if you do care about PvP. But if you only care about the raids, you definitely want to pay attention to Shadow Darkrai on Sunday. In terms of its meta relevance right now, it is a really good Pokemon to build. It's a few points behind Shadow Tyranitar and Shadow Hydreigon, but it's 100% worth rating for this, and that's because it still hasn't got access to its signature moveset Dark Void, And if you do end up getting a good IV spread or a Shadow Shiny, you can always Elite Team for that moveset later once that is released. And trust me when I say this is going to take Darkrai to the top of the meta. So take advantage of your opportunity during this event. I am personally going to be using my extra premium passes to raid Darkrai a bit more on Sunday. Don't really care that much about Cresselia, if I'm being honest. I don't do PvP that much anymore these days, but Shadow Darkrai, I would love to get a Shadow Shiny and then eventually give that Dark Void. And then finally from the max battles, we are going to have G-Max Grimmsnarl available on both days. This is going to be the #1 Dark-type G-Max attacker to use in max battles moving forward. Now in the future, we are going to get G-Max Urshifu, which is going to be the best Dark-type attacker in the game for max battles, but I have no idea when that's going to happen. So for a long time at least, G-Max Grimmsnarl is going to be your guy. Next up, let's talk about eggs. So should you actually hatch these special 5km eggs during this event? Well, first of all, you can get 5km eggs by spinning Pokestops, but these also do share a pool with 2km and 10km eggs. So it might be kind of frustrating trying to even obtain these special event eggs. Now, if you do have the event ticket, the drop rate for 5km eggs is supposed to be increased though, and one of the major hunts from this egg pool is going to be Mime Jr., which is normally a regional Pokemon. Next up, let's go over the best Mega Evolution you guys can be using for candy farming bonuses during this event. So it's pretty simple when it comes down to it. The Dark type hour is going to be Dark Pokemon. The Fairy type hour is going to be Fairy Pokemon. So which Pokemon can we go with? So we're going to have Tyranitar, Gyarados, Houndoom, Sharpedo, Sableye, and Absol for the Dark type hour. And then for the Fairy type hour, we're going to have Gardevoir, Altaria, Diancie, Mawile, and Audino. So ideally, you do want to run your highest level Mega for additional candy and extra large candy bonuses. If you do have multiple Dark or Fairy type Megas, this is going to make it easier to alternate them each hour without having to spend too much Mega energy. That said though, if you already have a nice stockpile of Mega energy, you won't have to really worry about this. I do have most of my Mega Pokemon at level 3 already, so I'm going to be cycling through my free Mega Evolutions first before I have to start spending my saved energy. If you want to prepare more Mega energy before this weekend, you should make your highest level Mega your buddy right now and walk it. You still have time to build up some extra energy to use during this weekend, and you can also keep it as your buddy if you want to farm more energy as you're walking throughout the event. Otherwise, that's basically everything I have for you guys in this video, though if you do have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. I'm going to be doing one more Q&A video right before this event to answer anything that wasn't covered in all the videos I just recently uploaded. For now though, if you do want to check out some more content in the meantime, I'm going to recommend these two videos next.